I say it all the time, be a great teammate first. That's the most important thing, right? Be the best of whatever role you have to be that day. If that's being in the dugout cheering your teammate on, then you be the best person that does that. If that's coming in as a pinch runner, then you do that, right? If it's coming in as a pinch hitter, be the best that you can be at that and be prepared to do it.
Whether you live northeast, west, or south, the best fast pitch info comes from the coach's mouth. Welcome to the From the Coach's Mouth podcast with your hosts, Jay Bolden and Ken Kraus.
Hello, everyone. This is Ken.
And this is Jay.
And we're here for a very special holiday episode of the From the Coach's Mouth podcast.
Ken, is that like one of those special episodes of Blossom back in the day?
Yeah, a little bit, but not quite. Hopefully we don't have to go into all of those socially conscious topics. But we are going to have some fun today, I think, talking about really kind of the year in review. We're on episode 41, Jay. Isn't that hard to believe?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think we've been pretty consistent throughout the year, and I'm excited to see what next year holds. I know we've been talking to a lot of potential guests, and there's some big names in there, and then some other, unknowns that can come out and help coaches grow. And I think that's I'm excited for what next year is going to bring for the podcast, and it's grown. I think it's, honestly, this was just something that I think we wanted to just do just to have some fun with, and it's kind of grown a little bit, and we've had some great feedback from people this year, and it's awesome. So for those of you who are listening this past year, we really appreciate you all, and I'm excited for this episode too, Ken.
Yeah, me too. And everybody, thank you so much for listening to us. I know it sounds like we're wrapping up already, but no, thank you for listening. We appreciate everybody getting in. Definitely appreciate you sharing it with your friends. So if you want to do that right now, smash that like button. Share it with someone that you love, someone you think might get some value out of this, and help us continue to grow the podcast, which will help us continue to attract more guests, because nobody wants to come on to a podcast that's going to 3 people in their basement.
Yeah, definitely not that. So hopefully I'm thinking about maybe, talking to my t-shirt guy, get some t-shirts made maybe next year. And, anybody who maybe shares the podcast out, I'd send you out a t-shirt, and definitely going to get some stickers. Even thinking about getting a banner put up in my facility for people to see and do that. Just try to get the word out there a little bit. And I'm excited. I'm excited for next year. So we'll see what happens.
Awesome. I might even try to clean up the background here, even though we haven't been using video. I look at the background where I am right now, and it looks like I'm doing this out of a supply closet somewhere.
You mean you're not? I thought you were. Okay.
No, not quite. It's just a room where when we don't want to have things sitting out in the main part of the house, then it all gets dumped into here. So
yeah, I have one of those too. So yeah, I understand completely. I think everybody listening probably has one of those rooms. So yeah, absolutely. So
and a couple of drawers too.
Oh, of course. Y'all definitely have a couple drawers like that. Maybe 2 or 3 actually. So let's today, why don't we talk a little bit about, let's look back on what we've done over the year. Maybe talk about some of the episodes and some of the guests that we've had. I think it'd be good to reflect on that. And then we can throw our little insights in here and there as we go along. What do you think about that, Ken?
Jay, that sounds like a great idea.
All right. Do you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
Well, actually, I'm okay with going first. So,
go for it.
Okay. I want to talk about what was our very first episode. Spotify does a thing. I'm trying to remember what they call it now. I think it was like Rap 2025, where they give us a bunch of stats. So I'm going to start with our very first episode, which was Rick Pauly, which maybe it's just because it was the oldest episode, or he was the oldest guest. Sorry, Rick.
Oh, boy.
But that was definitely our most popular episode that we had. Either, like I say, people went back and they were listening to it, they saw Rick and they wanted to do it, or there were a whole bunch of people that sampled it in the beginning and went, geez, these guys, and
Yeah,
left.
could be. Yeah, and then that was it. But I'll say something. I want to say something about Rick. I mean, what a great person. I mean, he's super important, not just to us, but to the entire fast pitch pitching community. The guy is like he's a savant. Honestly, I really feel like we're blessed because he's been our mentor for years, and we've worked alongside him at clinics and on our weekly calls with him on Tuesdays and that whole group. But he's just been not just for us, but the entire fast pitch pitching community. I mean, the guy has been a resource for not just like recently. This has been for years.
Yeah.
And so he's incredibly important in the fast pitch community. And I don't know anybody more knowledgeable than that man. I mean, and the best part, Ken, I think you'll agree with me, is like he is absolutely not afraid to try new things. I mean, he's been there, done it, seen it, right? And he's still out there trying to learn and grow. And I mean, that's just I think that's a lot of the reason why people probably listen to that episode, is because the guy has so much knowledge to just give and put out there that, if you're a pitching dad or a pitching, mom with a kid, I think that's an episode you wanted to tune into, because just you might pick up some good information to help your kid out,
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's the amazing thing about Rick, is that a lot of people in his position would just say, okay, well, I've learned what I've learned. I know what I know. I'm going to go out there and I'm just going to push that out there. And, I'm satisfied with it, but not Rick. I mean, he'll tell you, I think he said he's changed more in the way he teaches pitching in the last 5 years than he did, in all the years prior. So, he just has a thirst for knowledge, and he just keeps on trying to learn. And he loves discussing things with you. And if you bring up a topic that throws him off, he'll stay up all night thinking about it. And,
yeah, true statement.
It's just great to see that someone at his level still wants to learn. So anybody else who's out there that thinks they know it all, I would say take a cue from Rick. Listen to that episode, hear what he's talking about. We're planning on having him back on very soon. So it'll be interesting to see, going back just over the last year and see, does he still agree with everything he said then?
Yeah. Can't wait. He's going to be great. So I'm going to go with mine. And actually, believe it or not, I'm going to go with the second episode we had with Sheets. I feel like, for me, that I was so amazingly happy when he agreed to be on the podcast. The guy is just, I mean, he does it the right way, and he does it for the right reasons. And that is to create better people, not just better players. And I really feel like that's a lot that's missing out on what's going on today. Is it's very transactional, and he makes it not so transactional. Talking about person first, student second, player third, and really he comes through on that. Teaching his young men down there at Georgia Gwinnett how to tie a tie, how to prepare themselves for a job interview after this. Proper handshakes. All and also what he does is I thought it's just great. He takes time out of his practice plans to do things where he focuses on the mental side, the mental health and well-being of his players. And I think for me, that's one that resonated with me a ton as a coach, because it's more than just the wins and losses. It's more about the connections you make and watching these young men and young women grow up to be successful in their field after baseball or softball is over. So Sheets was, I thought, awesome. Plus the energy that guy brings. How can you not? It's just so contagious. How can you not want to run through a wall after you talk to that guy? So he was great. So Sheets, thanks again for being on here, and we appreciate that for sure.
Yeah, no, that was definitely a great conversation. So upbeat, so positive, loving what he does. I mean, that's what you can hear more than anything else. And I think that that's an important part for any coach. Is if you're not loving it, if you're not, really enjoying the idea of helping young people become the best version of themselves, as they say on Ted Lasso, then, what are you doing it for? He really embodies that.
Yep.
All right. Another one I'm going to pick, and just because, she's somebody that's meant a lot to me through my coaching career, and that's Cindy Bristow. She's a legend. She's a Hall of Famer. To have somebody like Cindy just take the time, she does all of her own stuff, to take the time to, chat with us and talk about all the different things, what it was like when she was playing, some of the things that she's working on now. And in fact, again, another lifelong learner, someone who's never been satisfied with where she is, always trying to find new things and willing to change what she's been doing if she finds something that's better.
Ken, I'll tell you what, I could talk to her hours on hours on hours. That was probably one of the best episodes that I was like, I don't want this lady to get off. Like, can we keep talking to her? Not only was she just knowledgeable, she was absolutely hysterical too.
Yeah.
And you combine those two things together, and I'm like, let's go. Those are the people I want to be around, because when you're done talking to her, you feel good about yourself. And that was a great episode. And again, another person I remember the question you asked her is like, has your teachings changed? And she just laughed at herself. She's like, oh my goodness, Ken, absolutely. She's like, I wish all the videos and all that. She was just, she was so great about it too. And again, another legend in the game who's really out there helping people. So her Curveball Chronicles is great, and again, that was a great guest, and I'd love to have her back too, just to talk to her. We don't even need to talk softball. I just talk about the Dodgers or her mom or whatever, but she was fantastic, and that was a great episode.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, I think you can talk to her about just about anything and have a great conversation.
Yeah, she's great. So the one that I was floored and just blessed and so happy that she joined us was Lauren Hager, right? The whole thing for me is, she made that post, I think, in 2017 when she first started doing lessons, talked about how the ball doesn't face second base behind me or center field behind me, right? How the ball's palm up, and she's not doing hello elbow, right? And she shows a clip, and these were just things that she was experiencing when she was an instructor that first started, and Ken, you and I were talking just before we started recording this podcast of these kids that we get that come in, and the mechanics is like, somebody had to teach you that, right? Somebody had to teach the athlete out of you. And, that post for me, and just to have her on, and again, what a special softball player, right? One of the only 50-50 people around. 50 home runs, right? And just, she could hit, she could pitch, she could do it all. And then for her to post something that she's seen in her lessons that you and I see all the time too, it just resonated with me. And when she agreed to be on the podcast, I thought it was awesome, and can't thank her enough for spending time with us. And that was early, right? That was like some of our earlier episodes that we got going with her. So that was a really, really good episode. And I think, having Lauren on was just great.
Yeah, no, I agree. Just listening to somebody, and I think, one of her best stories was talking about how she struggled. When she was in college, she was not the number one pitcher for 4 years. She was number 2 behind another great pitcher. But, she said when it was finally her time, and, her coaches told her, you need a changeup. And, that's one of those things, we're going to divert a little bit from kind of the topic of today, but that's one of those things that amazes me, how many college pitchers have told us that they didn't really develop a changeup until they were in college. How can that be going on? I know speed is wonderful, but change of speed is even more effective. If you're a parent of a pitcher, or you're a pitching coach, get that changeup going early, get that thing developed so that girl can throw it and make it look like she's throwing it as hard as she can throw. It's going to be your best fastball of the day. And it turns out to be just about a third of the speed, or 2/3 of the speed, I guess, the 10 to 12, 15 miles an hour slower. That is so effective. And it just amazes me that how many pitchers you see don't have that yet.
Yep. What about you? What was another one, Ken, that you...
Okay, I'm going to put a couple of them together, and that's just because, these are a couple of our good friends, Linda Lench and Pam Savage.
Yes, great episodes, both of them. Of them.
Yeah, we enjoyed talking to them so much. We talk to them in a different context just about every week, but to get them on, and I know that they were both a little nervous about coming on and doing it, which is, of course, funny to us because we're just a couple of dopes doing a podcast.
Pretty much.
But they were nervous, like this was going to be on ESPN or something. But we had great conversations with both of them. Linda talking about, I could listen to her stories about the old days of when she was first a player, and the people she played with and the things she learned, her whole thing with, the rowing thing, just in the middle, kind of in the middle of her softball career, she just gets bored with it and decides to go out and be a competitive rower instead. And then, and then Pam, on the very first U of I softball team, she was, the pitcher of the year for that team, and then had an injury and wasn't able to play anymore, but, became a pitching coach and really started looking into it. And, one of her driving forces was, I don't want anybody else to get hurt like I got hurt. Yeah. So she thought, maybe I should look into this a little bit more. And instead of riding on what she had done, she went out there and she found good information, and she's teaching kids the right way to pitch and having a lot of success with it.
Yeah, not only that, we're spoiled, Ken, because we get to spend Tuesdays with both of those, and amongst others. But, we're spoiled to have those two and their thoughts and ideas about pitching every Tuesday, and I think that's just something that's really cool to see. And they both have so much, they've both given so much to help me grow and you grow as a better pitching coach, like they say, it takes a village, and we have a really strong village, which is super cool. And those two are absolutely awesome because they give so much. Yeah, I agree with you both. I could listen to both of them talk about their stories, just about every day. So, and I think Linda, people don't give her enough credit. That lady is like, I call her the legend. That's Linda Lynch, the legend. Like, she's been through it. She's done it. She's played against some of the best ever to chuck a ball, and still humble and still learning and still growing. I mean, just incredible. I mean, she's like a lot of the driving force of what we're doing. She's the one always exploring things, and it's just great. So, and again, it's great when we had a chance, when we got the motor preference stuff, we got certified and went through that class out there at James's place. All of us were together. So that was cool. It was really cool to do it and see and talk to them in person too. So yeah, I agree. Those two are super huge, and those are both great episodes with really good stories from both of them. So,
yep.
Yeah. I'm going to go with one here. And again, I don't know, outside of Rick Pauly, the next person I would turn to and do turn to about pitching is Josh Johnson, Dr. Josh Johnson, at Virginia Tech. This is a guy who is absolutely pushing the envelope, with biomechanics and movement. And when he was talking about researching and talking to javelin throwers, right, for pitching, that's just such outside the box. And what's the correlation between those two? And just, again, and all of the stuff, the biomechanical assessments that he does down there in his lab, and the guy is just in it. Like, he's in it. He wants to learn. He also wants to help people. He has that wonderful newsletter that comes out. I think, it's like, I think once a month or so on. And it's just filled with information and stuff on studies and just, it's just awesome. And so, like, to have a person like that, and again, who's a pitching coach, at an amazing school with a tough conference. And so having Josh on here that was great. Just really great.
Yeah. I mean, I read his newsletter every time it comes out, and half the time my head hurts when I'm done reading it, just the studies that, he comes across and all that. But it's amazing to see the research that's out there, and it isn't just the individual pieces, but when you start putting it all together in the aggregate, you really start to get a feeling of what you should be doing, what's important, what isn't important, what people waste time on as well. So, it's a great thing to read.
So I got to tell you a story. Knew him prior when he was at Ball State. So I had him come up and talk to Illinois Coaches Association up, years ago. Okay, that's where I kind of met him first, and we would converse here and there. And then when I was at Loyola, we were at Florida Atlantic, and we were playing. He was at Mississippi State at the time there. He was the pitching coach there and all that. So we're both playing, and I'm sitting behind home plate trying to watch and scout the other teams and the pitchers and whatnot. And there's a stalker that's reading every pitch and every pitch spin rate. And Josh has their GA there recording every pitch out of every pitcher's, not just his, every pitcher is there, like spin rate. And that's a person who wants that data is going to use that data. That's where data becomes important to you, right? It wasn't ball flight information, Ken. It was spin rate and speed. And so we got together later that weekend, went out and had a drink and something to eat. And we were just talking about that. He was just like, yeah, this person threw this hard and had this much spin and, was and that kind of thing. It's just, and that's the point. It was like, he's such into that side of just exploring with data and the biomechanical stuff. So it was great and also good to catch up with him there too. And it was grateful that he came on our podcast, especially early as we started too. So,
yeah. I mean, that's the amazing thing, I think, for, all the guests that we've been able to, pull off. But, we've started to get a following. People are starting to know who we are. And, we're definitely seeing, we had some nice comments. This is the best softball podcast out there. But, there were some people that really took a chance that they'd be wasting their time coming on because we didn't have much out there. Guys like Sheets and Josh, they came on very, very early on. Rick's a friend, so it was nice of him to do that. But, some of the others were, they're more acquaintances or even people that we don't know very well. And to just say, hey, we'll do, yeah, sure, I'll talk to you. And I think that's one of the great things about the whole softball community, by the way, is it's so giving. I think people are willing to share what they know, and nobody... Well, I shouldn't say nobody because, that's too all-encompassing, but I think that the majority of coaches, especially those who have accomplished some things, they know that they didn't get there by themselves. Mm-hmm. So they're more than happy to turn around and share what they know with others and help others grow. And that's why we've seen the game improve so much, don't you think?
I agree 100%. Like, I think that's it too. I also want to really quick talk about another episode, and this kind of leads into what you're talking about. But the episode with Helen Pena at Ball State, that is something that is not in her realm. Like, she does not like doing any of this. And for her to step out of her comfort zone, to do that, to come on here and talk to us, like, again, Ken, that's the softball community helping the softball community grow, right? And I think that's the beauty of this, is that it's really about giving back, right? Like, we're trying to help other coaches. All these other coaches are trying to help other coaches, but at the same time, we're also helping each other, right? This was an avenue for Helen to step out of her comfort zone and to do that. And she actually made a post on Twitter about it and was thankful to us for allowing her to do that. And I think, Ken, that's what this is about, right? Like,
right.
It's that to me that's the coolest thing ever, to hear that, we helped another coach get out of their comfort zone so that they could grow. Man, that's the power of what this is really about, right? And to help others, it's about, I'm going to take something from Sheets and I'm going to take something from Patrick Murphy, and that's servant leadership, right? And that is you doing it without having to get any of the credit for it, right? It's not about you or me, Ken. It's more about how we're helping other people. And like you said, I think I told you this. I was at a coach's clinic, which was held in Peoria, and I'm walking and they're like, hey, Coach Jay, and no idea who this person is. Love your podcast, man. You and Ken are great. Love listening to you. I like that right there. And I'm like, hey. So I walked over, talked to him, like, thank you so much for listening. He's like, yeah, I listen to it every week. He's like, and my daughter as well. I make her listen to it too. And I'm like, well, thank you for listening. But that's what it's about, right?
Yeah,
it's about just an avenue to help other coaches grow. And, and you do a lot of that with your blog, your softball blog that you do, Softball Success. I mean, that's huge. People read that all the time. And I'm trying to get some more content out there on my page that's just helping people. And I think that's what it's about. So I thought that episode with Helen was huge, not just for us, but for her as well too. So.
Oh, that's so cool to hear. Yeah, I mean, I've been enjoying the content you've been putting out on your Facebook page, the Be Bold Fast Pitch. Everybody that's listening, you should be subscribing to that, or following it or whatever it is you do on Facebook. But yeah, you've had some great posts. In fact, you've made me jealous a couple of times. I'm like, damn, I wish I would have written that one.
It's
I stole one.
Well, you steal them all, Ken. And I've, like I told you before, I've stolen plenty of your things too. It's not about stealing. It's about sharing, right? No one's reinventing the wheel. It's just there. Those are just my thoughts. Like, these thoughts pop in my head, or something triggers me. Like, I'll see something, I'm like, that just triggers me. You know what I mean? And so I'm just like, okay, let's let's write this down. Let's make it thoughtful so people understand it, and then let's go from there. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's more of that, but at the same time, too, I don't want to put too much out there that I sound like I'm, preaching, and that's not where I'm at. So,
I don't have a problem doing that. Obviously,
that's okay though.
I've been doing that blog forever. So
yeah, and it's a great blog. It's awesome.
Well, and I've gotten to the point now where sometimes I have to go into the blog and I have to search on a topic or a title that I came up with. And sometimes I find, yeah, that is a great title. And I thought so 8 years ago when I wrote that blog post. So got to come up with something else. Another one that I want to talk about, we loved every guest that we've had so far. I almost feel bad doing this just because, if we don't mention someone who was on there, I hope that they don't feel bad. It's just, these are kind of off the top of the head. But anyway, I want to talk about Rob Cruz. So he's a hitting guy. And just talking to Rob, he has his own podcast. He talks to Rick Pauly now and then. He talks to a lot of other great people. And, it's fun, first of all, to listen to his cadence and the way he talks. He's kind of laid back, but he's got a lot of stuff and a lot of great ideas. And I loved how he talked about, how next year at this time, I may be teaching something completely different. It's all about, what I learned and, what works and trying to individualize the instruction to the player, also talking about, he loves to talk about the SEC and says, what works, on your local travel team may not work at the SEC level. So you want to always be looking. Don't take success for granted. Don't, mistake success for being really, really good at what you're doing. Always get out there and try to see what are the best in the world doing. How are they going about doing it? What are their similarities? What are their differences? What's important? What isn't? And how do you get yourself better every single day?
Yeah. And did you see the last episode with him and Rick Pauly?
Yeah.
Oh, that is, if you're listening to this podcast right now, go find Rob Cruz's last episode with Rick Pauly on it about how the game is. It's the travel ball, right? How travel ball has changed and those kinds of things, right?
Yeah,
was that
I think so.
Yeah. I got most of it, watched almost all of it, and I can't remember the title of it, but it was absolutely fantastic. And it's a must watch and listen to for parents. It's really good. So.
Yeah, no, I listen to it. A lot of my podcast listening happens in the car, when I'm driving to lessons and all that. So I don't get to see too many. That's kind of one of the reasons why I think we felt it was never important to do video for our podcast, because we are, we're the type that listen more than we watch. There are certain times when video would be helpful, but as you always say, Jay, you and I have faces for radio. So
this is a very true statement. So one that I want to talk about is Emma Lemley, right? Like we had here we have an Athletes Unlimited player come on our podcast to talk to us and to talk about pitching. And I'm pretty sure that we're going to have an Athletes Unlimited coach come on here, hopefully next year, Ken. And I think
I'm excited.
The works of putting that together. And I think that's going to be great because we can ask some questions about what that league is like and the growth of that league. And I think that's huge too. But Emma was great. And what a great person to talk to. Super bubbly. And my favorite quote from her is like, I still throw the ball over the catcher's head. Like that. Like here you go. Like, I say it all the time to my players. They'll throw one that's super high. And I'm like, hey, listen, Emma Lemley was on my podcast and says she still does that. So we're okay. You're okay too. You'll lock it in. But I thought that was a great episode as well too. So.
Yeah, I was working with a new pitching student last night. It was her second lesson and trying to get her out of her comfort zone, bring more of the athlete out in her, get her more aggressive. I think she's still kind of the mindset that she has to throw the ball over the plate or at least to within her dad's reach. And I was telling her, I said, have you ever watched a game, college game on TV? So they throw balls away too.
All the time.
When you're working at it, and especially in the cage or something like that, don't feel like you have to be careful. Get out there, push that envelope, find out what you can do. Success lives out there on the edge of the envelope.
Yep, I agree. So I've just got a couple more, Ken, and we can go through all of them. I've listened to every single one of them, and I love all of them. And there's some really good highlights in all of those. But I would kick myself if I didn't talk about the Kerry Blaylock one. I mean, I'm a Saluki. And that was a great moment just for me to talk to her, because what she did there at SIU, for me meant a lot. And, I would still go down there if I had some of my kids that were at other schools that would go play SIU in March. I would try to get down there on the weekend, stay the weekend, and go see all the old stomping grounds. But and plus just the knowledge that she had. Another Hall of Famer on here and again, talking
Multiple
about
Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Yeah. And talking about still doing it the right way, that it's about the relationships, right? And how her coaching has changed over the years for that. It's really about making the connections with those players. And I think for her, she's seen that, because now that she's moved on from SIU and kind of retired from there, but still helping at Johnny Logan, all the time she's spending now with her former players, playing golf or going to weddings. And I think that's when you have a chance to look back on that career and be like, yeah, I actually did do it the right way. And so that was a great episode for me, meant a lot to me. As you can see, every morning I wake up there, Ken, and get that SIU alumni coffee going. And I'm proud of that. And it was really great to talk to her. So that meant a lot to me.
Yeah, no, that was a great conversation for sure. In fact, I mentioned her last night to one of my students, and just talking about how we talked to her and some of the things that, she was saying, and about how, when she went back to watch, and I asked her, she said, sits in the bad parent section, and she says, oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's great.
Part, and actually that was Courtney. She mentioned that. She said, my dad sits out in the outfield, and says way behind the fence, and he's doing Game Changer at the same time. So, he must be really depending on those umpire signals. But it's just, I think that people will look at it and say, I don't want to get in my daughter's way. I just want to go out there and enjoy the games and see what she's doing, and root for her and root for her teammates. And that's the fun part of it. That's what people have to remember. I think sometimes there's too much emphasis on the recruiting aspect. Not everybody wants to play in college.
Right.
Not everybody's going to be able to play at the college that they would like to go to. So that's a consideration as well. I've certainly seen it. If you really want to play, there's a place for you, but it may not always align with the type of school that you want to go to. If you want to go to a big school and you don't have big school ability, then, maybe you'll have to play club there, which is another viable option. If it's really important to you to play softball, then you may, you're going to have to maybe go to a different type of school than would be your first choice. So those are options that people have to consider as they go into it. Yep. But the point being that originally people were playing softball because it's fun. They like to compete. They enjoy the game. Sometimes it's gotten a little too much about college recruiting, and you forget the original purpose of it. So hopefully we'll remember more of that, and more of that will come out, and just get out there and enjoy the game. And then, the rest of that is gravy.
Yeah, I agree. Great points on all of that, Ken. So do you have any others you want to share? Because if not, I want to switch gears a little bit, if you're okay with it.
Okay. I think, the only other one I'm going to mention right now is just because he's local to us, Joe Kinsella over at Lake Forest.
Yeah.
There's a guy that's been there at that school for a long time. He's been doing it right. He talked about how he has pitchers that are all over the place. He puts together a staff. He doesn't look for 5 kids that can throw 65 miles an hour. He's got one of those. He's got one that throws 50 miles an hour with great spin. He has other girls that do other things, and really tries to mix it up. And he uses his pitchers as a toolbox, which is I think it's a great thing. It's to find different players that can contribute different things. I know he does that all the way through the lineup, but it's really the people aspect of it. So I enjoyed listening to him talk about all that stuff.
And he's just a great guy. Like, I've worked several camps with him, and every time it's always a pleasure. He does it the right way. The information he gives out to the kids, the players, is just incredible. And he's just a good guy. And that's why he's always there. They always invite him because he's good. They wouldn't invite you if you're not good, right? So,
right. Same with you. That's why you get invited, because you're good.
I'm like the last straw. They're like, hey, listen, somebody got sick on the way here. Can you be here in 15 minutes?
Oh, that's not true. I'm sure that you're a top choice there, Jay.
Okay. But anyway, he just does it the right way. And I remember the first time I met him and worked a college camp with him, I was like, yeah, I like this guy. He does it the right way. His interaction with the players was great too. So yeah, Joe's great. And again, he's got a great program up there at Lake Forest, and he does it the right way, and he knows what he's looking for, and it's awesome. So yeah, that was a great episode too. And he's local to us, which is great. So yeah, but I want to switch gears a little bit, Ken. We've talked a lot about all these awesome episodes. I want to talk not so much about episodes, but you can throw them in there if you want. Two things I want to talk about real quick is what are you looking forward to, you personally, right? Doesn't have to be podcast related, in the new year, in 2026. Could be something that you're looking forward to learning about, doing more lessons. I don't know, whatever that might be. And then the other one on that is, now that I said that, I forgot what the other one was. Oh, now it popped back in. That 50 plus age range is a wonderful thing. What are you looking for this upcoming college softball season? Because honestly, Ken, we're literally about, I want to say 6 to 8 weeks away from the first pitch being thrown. We've got softball that's coming first week of February up at the Rosemont Dome. DePaul has their dome up there. Got some great teams coming in. People will be down in Florida, all those wonderful tournaments. So what are you looking forward to personally? And then what are you looking forward to for this softball season?
All righty. Well, I think, that'll relate to the last episode we recorded with Prashant. Sorry, I keep saying his name backwards. It's Prashant. And, action types, learning about that. I'm really looking forward to, diving into that and learning more about how people move and the mental aspect of it, the personality aspects of it, so that I can even do a better job of working with my kids and helping them to find the optimal way to do things. Another thing I'm looking forward to is I've got some new tech on the way. We had heard about Panther Tech. They have a sensor you can put on that helps with proprioception. I don't know about you, but I get some kids every now and then. I'll ask them, did you feel that? And they'll say no. They have no idea where they are in space. And so this will help to give them an indication. You set the range of where they should be, and you can either have it buzz and vibrate or bang and vibrate, whatever it does, if they're in the right range or if they get outside of the right range. You can either use it as positive or negative type of reinforcement, but, something to help. I already have 2 or 3 kids in mind that, I think, okay, if I can get them to feel it with this, then it'll help shortcut that learning curve. So those are a couple of the things personally that I'm looking for. As far as the college season, gosh, it's just so incredible to watch. I have my DVR set to capture pretty much, I guess, every game that's on TV, or at least it's on certain channels. I don't get to actually watch them all. At some point, I have to just go through and clear out 40 of them. But it's just such a great thing to see. It will be interesting to see how, there's that whole leaping thing going on now, the semi-crow hop, and to see, is that going to be called? Are they going to be watching it? Or are people just going to be jumping like Bruce Lee, ninja leaps to get, to land and then throw the pitch from there? So I'm curious to see how that's going to affect the game, or if it's going to affect the game, or if it's going to get called, if they're going to allow it. And then other than that, of course, always just seeing great players doing what they love to do. How about you?
Well, I think personally, I'm on the same along the same lines with you. The action types is something I really want to dig into. I feel that that's going to help, again, how we can connect the brain to movement and why this happens or that happens. And, big loop, small loop are things I really want to dig into, and helping kids or players get back to where they're in the big loop. And so I think that's one of the biggest things where I just want to dive in on that and get as much information as possible. So that's the one area I really want to focus on personally. again, learning as much as I can from our group, I think, is another thing too. Trying and exploring new things, thinking outside of the box on some of these things, allowing kids to move the way their body's meant to move, I think is important. So I think that's personally where I want to be. For the softball season, what I'm really hoping, my favorite part of this is when I love the mid majors, because some of those kids were overlooked by these Power 4, Power 5 schools, right? And I feel like seeing what mid major is going to be ranked in the top 25, right? Like last year we had Florida Atlantic that had some really good stuff. Liberty, right, is another one. I mean,
that was a Cinderella story.
What Louisiana
story.
Yeah. What Louisiana Tech did to LSU last year, not just once, but twice, shows you that it's not always about how hard you throw the ball. It's about how you make people miss it. And defense and speed put pressure on defenses. And I think that was something that was really important. And how important defensive is at that level. It's funny, Ken, I want to move sidebar off of this. Is I had a kid come in the other day and they were talking like, oh yeah, I only had like 4 strikeouts. And I'm like, that's amazing. I'm like, look at the Women's College World Series. Like, you don't see double-digit strikeouts every game, right? All those kids can hit, even at our level, NAIA, D2, D3, everybody can hit. So you're going to see less and less of that, and that's where the defense really has to be a part of it. So I'm like, you're getting 4 strikeouts. That's pretty dang good. Let's continue to build from there. And I think people need to realize that it's the older you get, the harder the hitters are to get out. And we need to make sure that you understand your defense is just as important. So getting that weak contact and stuff like that. So I'm interested in digging into that. And again, watching what mid majors can make some noise. I love it. And that's to me the biggest thing. And I want to go watch, Ken, like the first weekend in February, I want to get up there to the Rosemont Dome and I want to go see some of my kids throw. I've got 5 kids that are going to be up there that weekend. Wow. I want to see them. Yeah, it's Ken. This is something I had one of those moments of, okay, yeah, I think I'm doing a good job, right? Like, yeah. And I was like, wow, I'm going to have 17 kids this year, Ken, that are going to be pitching at the Division I level.
Wow, that's amazing, Jay.
And I can't it's humbling. I'm not even knocking Division II and NAI and D3 too. I'm proud of all those too, but it's just like, wow. Like, okay, like you take a look back at that and it just humbles you. And I'm grateful, grateful that those parents and those people believed in what I'm doing. And I know you feel the same way too, Ken, that, people believe in what we're doing. And I think that's huge. So, but yeah, it was a very humbling moment. So I'm excited to go see them and watch what they can do this year, good or bad. I'm still their pitching coach and I'm still there to help them as much as I can. And it's cool. It's great though. This time of year for me too is fun because they all come back and they still want to do lessons, and it's so cool. Yeah. It's so cool. I'm like, they come back and guess what? We're still working on stuff. It's not like they just made it. Like, here we go. We got to fine tune it again. Let's get after it. So those are the 2 things that I'm looking for, one personally and both watching this softball season. Plus I would be mad at myself if I did not mention that I'm super excited for what St. Xavier is going to do this year. Like, our goals are there. Our kids are there. We're excited. I'm excited to get this going. We have a hard schedule this year, and I can't wait to see what our kids can do because they've put a lot of hard work in, and I'm excited for our pitching staff this year.
That's great. So do you think you've got a shot at the, whatever the World Series, the season-ending tournament?
I think we do, Ken. We've made it to regionals every year, and that's by winning your conference. And we get out to the regional and we'll play some tougher competition, and they're tight games. And our head coach has done a great job of putting some tighter games towards the end of our schedule this year, just so we can have that feeling when we go there. And I think that's important. And we start out we play some tough competition. We come out, play like the number 14 team in the nation in the first game out. So there's that. Then we go to a couple tournaments where we're playing the top 10. We go down to Gulf Shores. We're playing more teams in the top 10. And I think that's it. We just we gotta get over the hump. And I think this year is the year that we can do it. It's there. The talent is there. The coaching is there. The kids are bought in, and I'm excited to see it. And again, I think they can do it. I really think they can do it. So
that's great. I mean, I'm glad to hear that. Good luck with that. You never know what's going to happen in the season. you get a couple of key injuries and all of a sudden you're scrambling, but next person up, right? They have to go
absolutely.
in there. Every negative like that, where there's an injury or, something happens, maybe there's a death in the family and somebody can't make a game or something. And it gives somebody else an opportunity to step up and show what they can do. And I think, so that's one of those things that I want to just talk about real quick. For those, kids that are on the bench, maybe you're not playing, if it's travel ball, you're not maybe playing on Sundays, get yourself ready. Always be ready to come in because you can't always tell when you're going to get your opportunity. But when it comes along, you got to be ready to do it. You got to be able to step in there. You have to be able to show that, hey, I can do the job. And, you do that and you just never know. It could wind up in resulting in more playing time for you down the road.
Yep. You have to be prepared. I think that's a big thing. A lot of these colleges have large rosters. And when it's your moment is called, you have to be ready to do it. And then guess what happens then? If you do it in that moment, you're going to get more moments. And again, continue to do that. So, and I say it all the time, be a great teammate first. That's the most important thing, right? Be the best of whatever role you have to be that day. If that's being in the dugout cheering your teammate on, then you be the best person that does that. If that's coming in as a pinch runner, then you do that, right? If it's coming in as a pinch hitter, be the best that you can be at that and be prepared to do it. So, and I'm excited. This college season I think is going to be great, both at the highest level and, I love watching the D2 stuff. You got Lewis University out there, and you got University of Indy are both great programs. We've got our buddy Kyle up there at Hillsdale, another good D2 program. It's going to be exciting to see what these programs do at all these different levels. So it's
right.
exciting.
Yeah. Speaking of D2, I've got my girl Jenna Kosnoff down at Maryville. I'm excited to see what her season's going to look like this year. She's been starting since she was a freshman. She's gotten better every year. A big hitter for them, big stick. I think they're putting her into a larger role. So, it'll be fun to see that part of it. I always love watching, when my kids are playing in college, they do make it and, they're out there and love to see the stuff they're doing. And I'll be seeing Jenna, I think over the break. I'm going to see Juliana from North Central. She's coming in for a couple pitching lessons just to get tuned up before the season starts. Maybe Gwen, a couple of others. So, looking forward to reconnecting with them, seeing where they are, hearing their stories, some good, some bad, but some of, I think, what we do with our kids sometimes, depending on what school they're at or what their situation is, we're counseling, we're helping them with that mental part of the game, helping them get ready for whatever's going to come up.
Yeah, I'm putting them to work too. I have one of my kids from Toledo who's coming home, and she's going to be at my, my daughter's practices while she's on a break. Yeah, she'll be there, and we'll be doing some lessons. She's a pitcher and utility player there, so she's coming in and going to be working with my daughter's 11U team. So it's exciting too. I love when they get a chance to give back to the game. It just means a lot to me. So and I'm sure it does for you too. So awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just. This is the time of the year where we reflect back on everything. And I think for the From the Coach's Mouth podcast, it's been a great first year. I haven't gone back and listened to the really early episodes. The one with Rick was pretty raw, I'm sure. We
had to find our footing.
Yeah. We've gotten, hopefully we've gotten better at it. I hate to think we got worse, but, I think we got a little more sophisticated in our approach. We kind of found our rhythm.
I'll say this, Ken, like I've listened to plenty of podcasts and our flow is really good.
Yeah.
Right. Like the way that you take care of things on your end to make it sound, it is well done. Cause I've heard other ones, they just hop on and go, here we go. And then there's nothing. I mean, I'm like, man, even my wife goes, man, you guys sound really professional. I'm like, yeah, funny, ain't it? As far from that as possible. But I mean, it really does. So, again, thanks to you for all you do. Again, this is a two-headed monster, and there's nobody else I'd rather be along this journey with than you, buddy. So appreciate you.
Same here, Jay. I appreciate you, everything you do. You've lined up some great guests for us. and are continuing to do so. I'm excited for who we're going to have coming on in the new year. And I think it's just going to keep getting better and better and, getting more insights. And hopefully, again, people are finding value in what we're doing, finding that, certain things at least resonate with them. And they go, oh, and that's, I think why we try to sometimes get, coaches to talk about, their insecurities or their, do you ever feel like a failure? Do you ever feel like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I should just give it up. And it's always amazing to hear those high level coaches that we get to speak with who have, the same concerns that, everybody else does.
Yep, I agree. And I'm excited to have more of them on here so they can share that with more people. So you guys know you're not alone out there. And some days it's great and some days it's just not so great. That's the journey of coaching and journey of playing sports too, right? So, yeah. Well, anything else, Ken, you want to talk about?
No, I think that pretty much wraps it up for today.
Awesome. Well, everybody who's listening, I'll let Ken close it out, but just wanted to say again, thank you. And it's been a great year for us. It's blossomed into something that I think Ken and I both didn't know it could get to, and we're excited to continue to do it. And we're both driven to continue to provide good stuff for you guys out there. But can't thank you enough for those of you clicking like and sharing it and coming into lessons and saying, hey, listen to the podcast and it was great today, or screaming at Ken and I going, hey, or sending us that message. Like, that means a lot to Ken and I. I know Ken and I have both shared messages we've shared with each other and from people that have said, man, I really love it, what you guys are doing. So we appreciate you and thank you for listening. And I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas and a happy holiday and a great Happy New Year to all of you. And we look forward to 2026 for sure.
Yes, and I second that. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever it is. If you're a Druid and you celebrate Saturnalia, great for you too. Anything like it, whatever winter holiday you're celebrating, that's great. Try to take some time off if you can. Get a little bit of downtime in there, get yourself revved up for the next year. All righty, so that's it for us this week. Thanks to all of you for listening and the kind words you've been sharing with us. If you like what you're hearing, please remember to give us a like, leave a comment, and share this podcast on your social media channels. Make sure you never miss an episode by following us on your favorite podcast platform. And if you're so inclined, you can also leave a great review on Apple Podcasts to help more people find us. On behalf of the From the Coach's Mouth podcast, have a great rest of your week and weekend, and Happy New Year.